Welcome to this Tutor to You sociology topic video on culture and identity, looking at interactionism and culture. As a social action theory, interactionists take a bottom-up approach when it comes to functions and formation of culture. They see individuals as constructing cultures based upon their understanding of social norms and values. This means that what we define as cultural norms and values will vary from one society to the next. Unlike structural explanations of culture, interactionists argue that it is individuals who change the cultural norms and values based upon their interpretations of what social norms and values are. And as such, culture is based upon individual interpretation rather than a top-down instruction. This has wide application across different social classes, across different ethnic groups, and across different genders, with culture being based upon the experience of individuals rather than the rigid and fixed set of norms and values. Culture's norms and values are formed through individual interpretation. Individuals have agency or free will. They are able to make a choice over what the normal patterns of behaviour are in a social situation. For example, while many observe the cultural norm of wearing black to a funeral and grieving for those that have died, it's becoming increasingly common for people to adopt different patterns of behaviour towards those that have passed. Wearing colourful clothing, listening to uplifting music, and celebrating the life of individuals rather than mourning their passing are examples of how individuals may alter cultural norms. An example of this was provided by Garfinkel's breaching experiments, where individuals would challenge the normal patterns of behaviour in society and measure the reactions of individuals to that change. The most famous of these was Garfinkel's lodger experiment, where he instructed students to treat their parents' homes as lodgings, altering their language and their behaviour towards their parents as if they were paying guests in their home rather than their own children. Another interactionist, Goffman, suggested that individuals adapt to different sets of norms and values based upon the social context they are in. Goffman's dramaturgical approach suggested that individuals are actors, playing a role in different social situations, and that in each of these situations we abide by the cultural norms and values that are expected of us. For example, relationships between parents and their children may be more caring and nurturing, or they may be more disciplinary, something which may not be present in an intimate relationship between adults. Goffman also suggested that these roles all form part of an individual's identity, and as such influence their understanding of the cultural norms and values expected of them. Furthermore, Goffman examined how individuals come to understand cultural norms through interpreting signs and symbols. In everyday life, people are surrounded by signs and symbols that help them to understand how to behave. Goffman studied the interaction of pedestrians and how they negotiated with others on how people will avoid one another through their body language. People understood these spoken rules of culture. In a similar way, we understand that when waiting for public transport, we let people off before we get on, or we are aware that we drive on the left-hand side of the road, even though there are no signs present to indicate this. Of course, this is social construction, because the majority of the world drives on the right-hand side of the road, and so it differs from one culture to the next. Interactionists also examine the idea that different cultural situations have expected patterns of behaviour, and that these have been constructed over time. However, as previously highlighted, individuals can change these norms and values, making them socially constructed. Our earlier example of funerals being a celebration of life rather than grieving death is one. A second example is the changes to wedding ceremonies, which were once the preserve of churches and registry offices, are now more personalised and unique. The social norms in these situations are defined by the individuals rather than social expectations. Interactionists suggest that in contemporary society, individuals and their experiences will shape these social narratives, these stories, because they construct what is normal in that given social context, rather than abiding by traditions set down by social institutions. While the interactionist perspective on the formation of culture explains the greater individualisation of patterns of behaviour, it often ignores the impact of social institutions which still hold influence over individuals. Education, media, religion, and family remain influential in people's lives. Unlike consensus theories, interactionism does recognise that individuals' choices are limited based upon their location within the wider social structure. Social class, ethnicity, and gender often limit the ability of individuals to show agency, particularly with cultural expectations of different social groups. And a final evaluation is that whilst interactionism focuses on the individual's ability to show agency or free will, this can be argued to be overstated. Often people conform because of the pressures of social expectations, demonstrating that social institutions still impact on culture. That concludes this Tutor to You Sociology topic video looking at culture and identity, focusing on interactionism and culture. Thanks for watching.